Good morning. Oh, you're awake this morning. I love it. How are you feeling? We're going to be feeling better in about 20 minutes, so. I'm so glad to be here. This is one of my favorite places to be, as Dr. Kim said, that this is where I went through ministerial school. And the beautiful thing about this center is it attracts such a wide variety of people. And I really love that we're speaking on such a very, I'm going to say, intense topic or challenging topic today. We're going to be talking about Gracism. And Gracism is what our book of the month is. Book of the month. And it's written by this man named David Anderson, who is a Christian African-American minister. And he talks a lot about what kind of experiences he's had in his life, both in racism and Gracism. So he describes racism as speaking, acting, or thinking negatively about somebody else solely based on that person's color, class, or culture. And Beverly Tatum says that racism cannot be fully explained as an expression of prejudice alone, that it's a system involving cultural messages and institutional policies and practices, as well as the beliefs and actions of individuals. Now, grace is defined by David Anderson as the unmerited favor of God on humankind. Now, how many people here have experienced grace? I have. And grace means that I didn't actually do anything, except I just was. I just was me. And because I was me, I had an experience of grace in my life. I had an experience of when I believed everything was impossible, the possibility of love opened up in my life. That's what grace is. But grace, if you're taking grace and Gracism, then you put them together, then Gracism is the positive extension of favor in other humans based on color, class, or culture. So basically, it's radical inclusion for the marginalized and excluded. And Reverend David Anderson talks about that because he grew up and he really knew he wanted to be a minister, and he was a minister for a underprivileged church, and he loved doing that, but he got a call to a mega church. And this mega church was in this very nice, beautiful area. And when he was going to work, his very first day, he got pulled over. Now, he's black, so he got pulled over. And he wasn't normally pulled over in his old neighborhood, but most of the people there were black. But this neighborhood was mostly white. And he thought, oh, it's not a big deal. Maybe I was driving fast or something. And so he was late for his first day of work. And then when he went out to have lunch, he got pulled over again. So he went to lunch. And then when he was coming back from lunch, he got pulled over again. And he knew it was racism by this time, third time. And when he was going home, he got pulled over a fourth time. Yeah. And so he knew that something needs to change in this world. Something has to change. And he talks about how we have these experiences in our life, and they can actually inhibit us a lot from being our most profound expression that we want to be in our life. He talks about this red dot experiment that was a social experiment where 10 people were interviewed for a company. And these 10 people, they painted a red dot on their cheek before the interview. And they go ahead and interview, they come back, and then they talk to the people that went on this interview. And every single person said they cannot believe how the person interviewing them stared at their red dot the entire time. Like they were just staring the whole time, and how uncomfortable it made them feel and how nervous they felt about it. And then 5 of the 10 find out that the dot that was painted on their cheek was not a red dot, it was actually a clear dot. But they all felt the same way. And they felt the same way because whatever makes us insecure, and whether it's weight, gender, race, or anything negative considered by society, we feel it. We can learn to be self-conscious about what these things are. Maybe they were pointed out to you when you were a child. And so there's two ways that these things perpetuate. One is that they perpetuate in reality, and the other is they perpetuate in our own minds as well. So we have to learn how to shift these things. He says in the book that over the decades, many dotted people have been wrongly accused and denied employment, promotions, or housing. Many people have been beaten, jailed, and hung out to dry because of their dots. So after a while, dotted persons understandably feel as though their dottedness is a liability. They feel as though they are being prejudiced based on their facial dot. So what can we do about this dottism? What can we create in our lives to not have this experience anymore? You see, I believe in a world that works for everyone. We have this thing we call the Global Heart Vision here at Centers for Spiritual Living, and it's about inclusion of everybody. As a matter of fact, we not only include people, we celebrate our differences. But if we don't have that celebration going on, then we become the oppressed. And there's a lot of ways that people have been oppressed, but then people know about oppression, but people don't necessarily know about privilege. So I'm going to give a little education about privilege. Privilege is a special right or an advantage, an immunity granted and it's only available to a particular person or group of people. And basically, privilege is the other side of oppression. It's really easy to notice oppression, especially if you've been oppressed, but it's not so easy to notice privilege because usually it's the status quo. It's what's going on all the time. And if you think about society, there's the ways that society disenfranchises people and puts people to the margins or has disadvantages for people. But what about the people that society empowers on our expense? We call that privilege. It's the way that we use privilege that sometimes people get upset whenever you realize you have privilege. I'm white. White means I have privileges that I didn't even know about. I can tell you that out of the many times I've been pulled over, I have talked myself out of every ticket I've ever had. I can tell you that. And the reason why I was pulled over is not because I was white, it's because I was speeding, because I like to speed. So my advantage is also a disadvantage to other people. I think about Harriet Tubman, and I think about how she was so powerful. This woman is so amazing. She was in the 1850s. She was a slave. She was born a slave on Maryland's eastern shore, and she endured a very harsh existence, including beatings, where she was beaten. Somebody threw some big hunk of metal at her and hit her in the head, and because of that, she had epilepsy, maybe even narcolepsy, and she had these terrible scars on her back. She was very paralyzed, and it was hard for her to walk. Now, that's the same woman who went and she escaped, and she had freedom. Now, freedom is a privilege, I'm just going to say. Who would take that privilege and go back into the underprivileged world and then create that same privilege for other people? Now think about what kind of person does that. That's why she's so celebrated. It's because she's courageous enough to go into the spaces of the uncomfortability in order to uplift and empower others so that they can have the same rights and privileges that she has. It's a really challenging thing to do sometimes because it's whenever you're in privilege, like me, I'm in privilege, I like it. It feels good. It feels good to be in privilege. But we have to be the people who are in privilege, to be the empowerers and the uplifters of others. So just imagine this. There's a cartoon, I wish I had brought it, but there's a cartoon that I've seen where it's kind of like the way things are. So imagine me, and let's say I'm a kid, but I'm a tall kid, and I'm standing on 3 boxes, and there's a medium kid, and there's a little kid. And in front of us is a fence. Now me, on top of 3 boxes, I'm tall. I can see way as far as I can see. And let's say there's a baseball game. So I can see the game really easily. Well, the shorter kid can't see above the fence, and the little kid really can't see above the fence. But if I take one of my boxes and I give it to the kid who's a little bit medium, he can stand up and see over the fence with one of my boxes. If I take the other two boxes, I give them to the short kid, then the short kid can see over the fence. And then I have no boxes. But that's okay, because I can still see over the fence. See, that's what we have, what's incumbent on us, on people of privilege, is to share and uplift those who aren't. And I know that this is a challenging subject because we talk in this world, in Science of Mind and Centers for Spiritual Living, we talk about race consciousness or race thought or family thought. And there's two sides of things that we talk about. One, we talk about the spiritual aspect. So each and every one of us is unlimited, right? We are spiritual beings and we're in a human body, but the spiritual being of us is absolutely unlimited. We're pure love, we're pure light, we're this amazing, powerful being. And then we decide to be clothed into this human body, which is a limited experience of the unlimited. So we're both limited and unlimited. It's kind of confusing, but it's true for all of us. We have that kind of tapped into point, right? And a lot of the times we focus on this unlimited idea. But when we're born into our bodies, we're born into this limited way of being. Like, you inherit family values, you inherit cultural values, you inherit ways of being from your growing up years. So, and that can be really great, and it can also be really damaging for many of us. So the really great part, like, I was born into a family where we always win door prizes. How cool is that? So that's my family consciousness. Now, I had a friend who was born into a family where they always had car issues. Yeah, they always had car. So they brought this consciousness, this inheritance upon them, and they kept creating. There's evidence. My car just broke down. It always happens in our family. I can't believe that. And it keeps perpetuating itself. Now, there's some things we want to keep perpetuating, but there's some things that we want to stop perpetuating. So I want to do a little experiment with all of you. And I run retreats, by the way, so I do experiential things. So I thought, instead of you just sitting and listening to me, we could actually have an activity together. So if you'll all rise, we're going to do this thing, learning about each other's privilege. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold your fingers up. So you have 10 opportunities. Now I'm going to read 21 questions. There may be a point you're going to either put a finger down or keep your fingers up. And there may be a point where all your fingers are down. I want you to sit. And then after you're sitting, put 10 fingers up again. So 21 questions, potentially. We're going to just do this little experiment together. So the first question, if you are right-handed, keep all your fingers up. If not, put one down. If English is not your first language, put a finger down. If you can find Band-Aids at mainstream stores designed to blend in with your skin tone, keep your fingers up. If not, put one down. If your household employs help as housekeepers, cooks, gardeners, etc., keep your fingers up. If not, put one down. If you'd never think twice about calling the police when trouble occurs, keep your fingers up. If not, put one down. If you do not own a cell phone, put a finger down. If you can show affection for your romantic partner in public without fear of ridicule or violence, keep your fingers as they are. If not, put one down. If you have ever had to skip a meal or were hungry because there were not enough money to buy food, put a finger down. If you have a visible or invisible illness or disability, put a finger down. If you were ever discouraged from an activity or job because of race, class, ethnicity, gender, disability, body size, or sexual orientation, put a finger down. If you've ever tried to change your appearance, mannerisms, or behaviors to fit in more, put a finger down. If you've ever been profiled by someone else using stereotypes, put a finger down. If your family has health insurance, keep all your fingers up. If not, put one down. If you've ever been spoken over because you could not articulate your thoughts fast enough, put a finger down. If there were ever substance abuse in your household, put a finger down. If someone in your household suffered or suffers from mental illness, put a finger down. If you've been victim of sexual harassment, put a finger down. If you are never asked to speak on behalf of a group of people who share an identity with you, keep all your fingers up. If not, put one down. If you can make mistakes and not have people attribute your behavior to flaws in your racial or gender group, keep all your fingers up. If you have a college education, keep all your fingers up. If not, put a finger down. Now, there were a couple of people who sat down, so I want you to look around and see if there's anybody who sat down around you. And just notice that. Now, if you have less than 5 fingers up right now, could you please sit down? So now notice what's going on here. So the people who are standing up right now have had more privilege in their life than those who are sitting down. And the people who are sitting down initially have had less privilege than all of you. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and have a seat. And I'd like you to go ahead and take 2 minutes to grab a partner, and talk to your partner about how you feel about that experience. How do you feel about that experience with a partner? You're going to have 2 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and time you. So grab your partner now. You have about 30 seconds left. Okay, now go ahead and thank your partner for sharing with you. So I did this exercise with a bunch of ministers, and I actually ended up near the back. Part of the reason is because I grew up, my parents got divorced when I was very young, a single-parent household. And I also am a lesbian, and I didn't necessarily have the advantage of going to college until I finally went to ministerial school. So I had a lot of challenges growing up, and that doesn't mean that my challenges were worse than your challenges or anything like that. The thing about privilege that kind of stirs people is they don't want to admit that I might have had a different experience than you. So I'm not saying one experience is better or worse than the other, it's just different. It's kind of like where if I was going bike riding with a friend and we decided to go to the same destination, but we picked two different routes. And my route, I'm going kind of downhill, and it's rocky and it's bumpy, but the sun's out, I get sunburn, and I have kind of some awkward places that I have to ride through. And I get this wonderful tail breeze that just like pushes me through to my destination. And then my friend goes on this other trail, and she goes, and it's extremely bumpy, and ends up having mostly an incline, and this big gust of wind comes and blows her over, and she falls over and hurts her knee, and then she gets back on her bike, and then she's going really slow. She forgot her sunscreen, so we get to the same destination, and she's hurt and completely sunburned and very tired. We got to the same place, but we got there and it was harder for her. And so that's the thing, is we can, while in a bike riding situation, I can't do anything about that. But in real life and society, I can do something about that. I can find places where I can empower others, where I can make a difference, where I can uplift those who are challenged or maybe not treated fairly or not kindly treated just because of the way they look or their size or their ethnicity. So it's incumbent on each and every one of us to be the empowerers of others. You see, everybody here is a light worker. Everybody here is awakened up to a greater sense of well-being in this earth, and we're here to create a world that works for everyone. Now that means that you're the ones, that I'm the one, that is incumbent on changing and making a difference. Because we were born into this experience, and everything we're experiencing up to this moment is a result of all the past things that have ever been thought. Right now, this moment is only an effect. So in order for us to create a new idea of possibility, a new idea in this world, we get to create and dream up what that would look like, and then we get to step into and be the example of possibility for each and every person. Reverend David Alexander had this great analogy. He recently got a house, and he got this house, and in the back there was blackberry bushes. Anybody have blackberry bushes? And, yeah, they're thistles, and they grow everywhere. Like they were growing in the windows of his house, and they were all over his backyard. And so he was on his hands and knees, and he was like trying to pull out all these blackberry bushes because they were just invading everything. And he realized he was so angry. He was so mad. Why do I have to be cleaning up these blackberry bushes? You know, the last person planted them. I was so mad. And then it dawned on him that it was his job to clean it up because it was his house. And he wanted a house that was free to roam in, where he can easily move, and that was beauty everywhere. And he had to be the ones to pull the bushes out. Well, that's how it is in this world. So maybe you were born into privilege or not, but you're the ones who are awakened to the fact that you can make a difference. And so this is our world, this is our house. And even if we didn't plant those seeds and we didn't make that bramble, we are the ones to clean it up. And so I want to encourage you to think about, how can you show favor on those who are marginalized, disenfranchised, or underprivileged? Are you willing to be uncomfortable to take a stand for equity? Would you be willing to educate people about your red dot and maybe even celebrate and uplift people because of their red dot? Are you willing to do these things with me? Yes. Are you willing to do these things with me? Yes. All right, I believe you, so let's do this, okay? I'm in if you're in. We can do this together, and we can create a world that works for everyone. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. Let's pray. I'm so grateful to know that this is a space where God shows up, where the infinite universe of love, where the infinite universe of light has shown up to express itself as each and every one of us. And so I surrender to the idea that I am a powerful, presence on this planet. And I know and claim that I'm here to uplift and empower others, to help them recognize the beauty, the divinity that they are. And so I know and claim that today is a day of great transformation, of revelation, of inspiration that is happening in and through each and every person here, and that something is shifted within us, that we open to that greater sense of wholeness, of well-being, of aliveness, that we are here to create a world that works for everyone, and our dreams and our visions are easily and effortlessly unfolding before our very eyes. And so I take a stand for love, I take a stand for peace, I take a stand for inclusivity, knowing that I am just welcoming the divine into my house, knowing that this is a place that I've made the way clear and easy for each and every person to be welcome into this place. And so as I see that for myself, I see that for each and every person here, and I surrender into this light, into this life, into this beauty, into this love, and I welcome it. I know that it is transforming my life before my very eyes. And so as I see it, I claim it, I embody it, I am it, I declare it, and I release this prayer, letting it go, and I let the rest of the world unfold beautifully and brilliantly before my very eyes, better than I could have ever imagined. And for that, I am truly grateful, and so it is. Thank you.